So I'll never forget the day that I first learned about manifestation. It was one of the craziest days of my life because it was the first time that I took something that I didn't agree with and was able to figure out how it can work into my own life and go, wait, maybe I don't agree with that, but there's an aspect of it that's very real and I'm already doing it. And don't worry, to everybody in the audience who thinks that I'm about to tell you to write down your goals in a gel pen 3 times a day, over 100 times, over 3 pages. That's not what's about to happen here. I'm not gonna pitch that kind of manifestation to you guys. But I think there's an interesting angle to manifestation, right? So remember, this would have been probably early high school, figure, right? It was when that kind of TikTokified version of manifestation was really getting popular. You know, that whole thing going on where every girl on your For You page who had like a choker on was writing down their goals 100 times in gel pen, going like, this will change your life, guys. And one of my friends was into that. And I forget what goal I was telling her. It was probably something fairly dumb at the time. You know, maybe if I was 13, that'd be old. So, you know, it probably wasn't the most intellectual goal. And she went, okay, I'm gonna help you accomplish this. Get a piece of paper and write that down 100 times in a red pen. And my response was, can you do it for me? And she said, no, that wouldn't work, right? And I know to a lot of you who aren't into this kind of stuff, myself included, especially at the time of this story, I was like, oh, so it's only real when you write down the magical, when I write down the magical word. I can't have somebody else write down the magical words. Like I was like, this is the silliest thing I've ever heard. But she said something that I thought was so interesting. She went, the point of writing it down is not to catch a spell or something. It's just to make you think about it. And I thought that was so interesting because I think that, again, using manifestation here as a general term, not talking about the specific TikTokified version of manifestation that was popular a little while ago, and in some regards is still very popular, using manifestation as a general term of thinking and breathing your ideas into existence, speaking them into existence, you know, whatever you want to use to describe this. I do think there's a way in which it's very similar to the idea of mindset that's very popular on the exact diametrically opposed side of the internet, you know? This idea of mindset and manifestation are almost exactly the same thing. And I think when you allow yourself to apply them together, it really does show you that you thinking things into existence maybe is not the only thing you need to do, but it is, I wouldn't say it's 90%, right? Because I think that alludes to the fact that like that this is bigger than everything else. I don't think that at all. I think though, thinking things into existence, mindset, is more so the first very large plane of a tower. And if you don't have that, you will never be able to put a tower on top of it. So what do I mean, right? The way my friend described manifestation to me back then was that it's just a way to get you to think about this goal all the time until eventually you attract it. She said, what you think about, you attract, and that's how it'll work, right? So she said, you gotta write down because you gotta think about it. And then there was kind of that mumbo jumbo part of it where she was like, it's gonna make your energy align with it. And like, listen, you know, I don't know about all that. I'll just say that. I don't know about how my particles work. You know, I'm not a scientist. Maybe there's a very real aspect of that. I thought that was a little bit silly at the time, though, if I'm being honest. I still think it is. So I don't know about all that, right? But the core premise here being, think about this until you attract it, right? That's interesting, because if you think about this whole mindset thing of like, you need to be thinking about your goal all the time. You need to want it so bad. You know, you see this in a lot of those sort of, to use a derogatory term, alpha male adjacent sort of internet niches. You see this all the time, where it's like, no, if you don't want that thing that bad, you'll never get it. And that's where the mindset thing comes in, which is strikingly similar to manifestation. If you think about it, this idea of thinking about something all the time to prove how bad you want it is also, you know, very similar. You're thinking about it all the time and you're trying to attract it by showing how much you want it, right? Now, I think both these ideas, in my opinion, You know, it's just some guy who stumbled across them. I think they're both a little bit, maybe they've been kind of bastardized by the algorithm to this point where now maybe they started as something very real, but now they're sort of a little bit goofy. You know, there's a whole host of things that we could go into here about these terms, these ideas. Maybe not the soundest, right? But I think there's a sound element to everything we're talking about here, right? Just the general premise of what you think about all the time, you will attract. And I don't think it's because you're going to lock into its energy. And I don't think it's because you are going to sort of get some sort of spiritual force recognizing how bad you want it and give it to you. Those ideas are actually almost exactly the same if you think about it, you know? Once again, these are the bastardized versions of these ideas that have come to me from the algorithm. Maybe if you're closer to one of these circles, you have like an actual better interpretation of it. You know, I'd love to hear that. But for now, this is sort of the version of these ideas that I'm getting delivered to me, right? So the general premise, you think about something, you attract it, it comes to you. That is just true. And everybody who succeeds always says that's true. Like, that's just a factual, that's a thing, that's a way stuff works. But how? I think, personally, this is how I think it works. After not intentionally, but sort of just thinking about my goals so much over the last couple of years of my life to the point where I have thought of a bunch of other ideas around them. This is why I think it works, right? And I didn't do this on purpose. Again, I want to iterate that this is sort of something that I did subconsciously and then kind of realized, oh, it's sort of like this other thing consciously. You know what I mean? So when I was really starting to like be like, I want to be this person, like when I started really understanding sort of where I wanted to go, not with my life, but with myself as a person, was around 13. Right? That was like the first time I got an image of my older self in my head and was like, that's who I want to be, right? Something I'm very fortunate and blessed that happened to me, by the way. I want to stress how grateful I am for that, actually, because I know a lot of people spend their lives trying to figure that out. And I've always had a pretty good idea of my own sense of self, which I'm eternally grateful for. But that's besides the point. Ever since then, when I started getting that idea in my head, you know, of course it's come in waves. Like I've said in previous Paint Talks, I've burnt out before, I've quit. All these things have happened over the years, but I've always sort of remained having these ideas in my mind that no matter what, someday that's gonna happen, right? And I think, you know, it's sort of a chicken and the egg argument, I guess. Did I come up with ideas surrounding my goals because I had my goals or because my goals had me? You know what I mean? Like, is it sort of just like my brain was wired that way, or did I sort of think about things that way? I never like just assuming that somebody's brain's wired a certain way because one infers that person is special. I do not think I'm special, so I don't like doing that because I feel like, I don't know, isn't the inference there kind of like, oh, their brain just attracted that? I hate when people say that about themselves, like my brain just works like this. Like, I don't think so. I think everything is a byproduct of something else, right? So I'm going to, maybe out of my own, you know, sense of wanting some sort of autonomy and free will alone, I'm going to say that I think that I sort of kind of got my brain into that state when I was younger of looking at things a certain way and going, okay, this is what I want, this is who I want to be, right? That's what I'm going to tell myself, at least. Maybe you can disagree. I don't know. You know, there's different perspectives on the whole nature versus nurture thing, and that's a huge Paint Talk that will come someday, trust me. That's a big one I'm waiting to do. I think it's a sense of worldview. I really do. I think it is a sense of worldview because once you start viewing the world under the lens of not, you know, let's say when I was younger, I'd view it under the lens of like, I'm a high school student right now. Maybe now I view it under the lens of like, I'm a content creator or some BS like that, right? I hate that I just said that, but we gotta keep moving. Maybe, you know, I'd view it under these lenses. Instead of doing that, I'm now viewing the world under the lens of like, I'm somebody who wants to do this. This is what I want to do. And my brain, I don't know how the subconscious works, but like in some regard is always trying to figure that out almost, you know? And because of that, over the years, I've been extremely fortunate that when I see something, I'll go, that's a way that this could fit in to my goal. You know what I mean? like, this is a way, like, I want to do X, this is why I could bring this in and do this, you know what I mean? Like, because of that, I have gotten so many opportunities, I've done so many things, I've come up with better ideas than I would have otherwise, and that's what I think manifestation is, that's what I think mindset is, and that's why I say I think it's a solid foundation for everything, because, you know, you could force yourself, you could use ChatGPT right now and say, I want to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company coming out of a Y Combinator in 5 years. Type in that in ChatGPT and give me the daily routine that I need to get to do this, give me the steps I need to take, and, you know, make my 5-year plan. ChatGPT will do it. And maybe, I don't know, I haven't tried it, but maybe you could even follow that plan and you'd end up being a Fortune 500 CEO. There's a total chance that that could happen, right? But I think you skipped the first step there of thinking about it all the time. You know what I mean? Because when you just always have it in the back of your head, everything is viewed in the lens of how can I make this thing happen? And then things start to happen because of that. That's what I think mindset is. I don't think you're proving how much you want it. I think you're thinking about something enough until you think of a way to do it. I don't think that manifestation is a way to please some higher power into attracting something with your energy. I think you're thinking about it enough that you think of a way to do it. There was this dumb thing I saw a while ago where it was like a guy gave me this advice once that if I ever want to do or figure something out, I gotta write it on a piece of paper and put it in my shoe for the day. And by the end of the day, I'll figure out how to do it. And the guy who, I don't know, remember if this was like a video or a Reddit post, but the guy who made it said, oh my God, it worked. And I think it worked just because he was thinking about it all the time because that piece of paper was just in his shoe. I think this stuff, like, do I think it's, again, a little bit bastardized maybe and a little spiritual miracle element kind of comes into it, you know what I mean? For sure. But I think right next to that, there's also an element of it that's very real and that you can apply to make things better for yourself. And that's what I think everyone should do with this. You know what I mean? Like, I think this idea that you need to praise some higher power to get what you want in life is just a misunderstanding of the fact that you can already get it if you just think about it. I guess is as simple as I think it is. You know, all my best ideas have come to me not when I'm trying to follow ChatGPT's plan, but when I'm on a walk trying to think about my own plan. And oh my God, I almost dropped that. I just genuinely, I do think that's how that works. I hope this Paint Talk didn't come off as me thinking that I have some sort of special mindset or something too. That's kind of what I'm saying here, is that it all is about mindset. But I really want to say this in the lens of not so much that like, this is my secret to success. No, I'm not even all that successful. Like I view myself as successful because I'm happy and fulfilled, but I'm not successful in the ways that society judges. Like, I don't have 1 million followers and a Lamborghini outside, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still somebody who's very much working towards his goals, but I'm happy and I'm fulfilled, so I view myself as successful. And, you know, as much as I feel cocky saying that right now, I do think that I'm trying to come here and say this in a very, empowering makes me sound like I'm a motivational speaker. That's some bullshit, right? But like, just in a way of like, this stuff can be real. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like I lost the plot with this here. Whoa. Anyways, this is today's painting. It's a mess. I don't know what to do with the juxtapositions here, guys. I'm kind of messing up on this. I think this is neat. This is not. Maybe if these colors were cleaner, if these were really solid colors, this could be something actually. You know, there's something here, I think. I think I'm getting closer. I don't know, though. Go check this out on the Instagram. See what I end up thinking about it. And until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint Talk episode 123. 123, pretty cool. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all.